I would like to introduce Bickle and myself. My name is Sofia Mora, and we work with the Queensland Department of Environment, Science and Innovation in the Office of the Great Barrier Reef, and we're part of the Behavioural Insights team. And today we will be presenting our talk, which is called Bringing to Life the Stories of Agricultural Producers Enacting Change for the Reef.
We are part of the Behavioural Insights team in the Office of the Great Barrier Reef and World Heritage. The other part of our team, Katerina, is watching us online from Townsville today. So together we've worked on this presentation. I'd just like to start by saying that we were heavily influenced by the theme of this symposium to present to you what we're going to today. Like many of you, we live in a world of data, and our job is to use that data to influence outcomes for the reef. And we work largely with the agricultural community, and our mission is to try to bring to life the stories of agricultural producers who are enacting change for the reef. You will have heard of the Reef 2050 Water Quality Improvement Plan. This is, I guess, the area that we're aligned to, and we're aligned specifically to the Human Dimensions target under the Water Quality Improvement Plan. It's kind of the reason for our existence as a team, but we do more than just the monitoring and reporting against the Human Dimensions target. As I said, our role is very much about embedding behavioural science in everything that we do so that we can actually enhance outcomes. We are aligned with the management practice adoption paddock to reef team, so our monitoring and reporting function. So yeah, our function is under the Paddock to Reef program. We collect survey data that aligns to the management practice surveys that are collected from landholders who are participating in voluntary funded reef water quality projects, Australian government and Queensland government funded projects. And therefore, the people who we're surveying, our primary data source, are agricultural landholders. And we've worked with them in all manner of different ways, and we've collected stories, great videos, great case studies over the years. They do a great job of speaking for what's happening on the ground in the agricultural sector. The data that we collect is actually, I guess, our job is to interpret that in various different ways to help with how we engage and work with landholders. But it's noteworthy that it's actually extension officers on the ground who are the ones who are collecting the surveys on our behalf. So we don't engage a marketing or research company. We do our best to train up a whole team of extension officers, agronomists in grazing, cane, bananas, horticulture. And it's their job essentially to elicit the responses that we need to be able to understand why people are engaging in voluntary practice change or not. Back in 2019, we developed our first survey. These are the indicators that we're collecting. I won't go into too much detail because that's not the purpose of this presentation. Suffice to say, this is what we do with the data. We run the surveys, but we collect it on a project-by-project basis. So we essentially take the data that's been provided to us by, say, a nutrient management project in the Burdekin. They've been working with 50 landholders, and we analyse the data. We look at the, behaviour, motivations, barriers, self-efficacy, attitudes, etc. And we put together a lovely report and we present that back to them in a briefing. So we actually sit down in a session, usually online, but nonetheless, we dedicate up to an hour to working through the data with the people who've collected the survey for us. Which is a really, really interesting and engaging process. So it allows us to ground truth what we're seeing in the data, and it allows them to also see this actually relates to the people that they're directly working with. And of course, they're gathering insights through this that they might not otherwise get through their normal engagement just working on a land management change. The other thing that we do is produce a very brief little report or fact sheet that goes back to the landholders those who have and have not participated in the survey. It is voluntary, but it just neatly closes the circle. It gives them some sense that their data has actually been used and how it's been used. And it also builds group norms because it tells them about what the other people who are working in the project are also thinking. Oh, I went back, sorry. Of course, the other thing that we do is aggregate all of it, so all of the cane sector data, all of the grazing sector data. We also have bananas and horticulture data that we may be able to use in the next reef report card, but this is from the most recent 2021 and 2022 reef report card. So we can actually look at insights on a whole of sector level that we've collected. And for the first time, we've included cell temp data and regional report card data to bring some further context to the story, because it's not just about what the landholders themselves are telling us, it's about how the broader community views their efforts and the importance of land management change. We can identify trends from it. So we see that there's a distinct difference from the beginning point of a project to the end. So people are gaining confidence through their engagement with the project and with working with the agronomists on the ground. As we get more data, we're able to look at things on a more of a regional level, so we can get more granular now in how we're looking at and using the data. And we can also break down looking at different practices. So it's an amazing data set, and it's growing, and we're going to be able to use it in all sorts of different ways. But this leads me to the actual topic of the talk. You've seen some graphs, you've seen some data, you've seen some statistics, and I guess it led us to thinking about the fact that it's our job to communicate that, but are we doing it effectively in using it in that way and presenting it in that way and communicating it in that way? The people that we're actually trying to influence is not just the landholders, but this is data that can influence policymakers. I mean, we're from the Queensland Government, and our job is to feed this data into decision-making processes so that we can continue to fund really effective programs and projects. And this is where Sofia comes in. She's a recent recruit, and she's brilliant. And she has actually had, I guess, a bit of an epiphany when a new set of eyes coming in and looking at our data. And again, it started from the theme of the symposium, but this is essentially where Sofia takes over, because this is where her head went when thinking about how we could present our data differently.
Thank you, Meg. So yeah, inspired by the theme of this year's symposium, which was stories of creativity, cooperation, and change, we were thinking, how can we present stories from our data? And I was thinking, and I realized all our data does is tell stories, really. We just have to change the light that we shine at them. So that's when we were thinking of concepts, and I remember this concept of personas, which is not a new concept. It's been used widely in marketing, product experience, product design, basically to help product designers understand their users and remove biases. And this concept has an inherent behavior change component, because product designers are seeking to understand what their users' pain points are and what their goals are to help their product solve those needs, right? So we thought, what if we combine this concept with all of the data we have for our landholders and try to enact landholder personas that tell us more about our landholders and go beyond our data to help us tell those stories that sit behind the data normally. So that's where we came up with landholders personas. And as Meg told you, we are well aware of the motivations, barriers, attitudes towards practice change that sit behind our landholders. So what we did is we just basically turned the data on its head. So we wanted to provide a human face to our data. We wanted to give it a name, give it demographics, so that it could speak in a familiar language and stop using the very complicated technical language that's useful for us. And I love data, believe me, but it's sometimes hard to get it to communicate, especially when we're communicating to people that don't have a lot of time or maybe are not as familiar with the data as we are. So we just wanted to make it pretty, because beautiful things speak to us in different ways. And This just turned out in data that was now telling stories. And we thought, maybe this is a way that we can help stakeholders and different teams communicate better and improve decision-making processes. So just as a caveat, these personas are informed by a data set that we call the Social Monitoring Benchmarking Survey. It was conducted in 2021 with landholders operating on Great Barrier Reef catchments. And we took that data and converted it into personas, which just means that this data is not representative of every single. We're going to show you cane growers and graziers operating on in Great Barrier Reef catchments, but this does not mean that's representative of every single cane grower and every single grazier. This just takes the most common responses and aggregates them in order to provide a storytelling platform. So just to show you, this is how we would traditionally show the data. These are motivations of sugarcane growers operating in Great Barrier Reef catchments. So great data tells us a lot. It can inform projects in an amazing way, and I love it, but it doesn't speak to everybody in the same way. Instead, let me introduce you to Steve Kane. Steve Kane is an average cane grower participating in land management practice change in Great Barrier Reef catchments. He was born in the 50s, so he's between 63 and 73 years old. He's male, and he's been in the agricultural industry for around 41 to 50 years. How does Steve behave when he's engaging in practice change projects? So he believes that changing his fertilizer management is a good thing to do in his farm. He's confident in his ability to implement his practices, and he believes at least most cane growers he knows are also engaging in practice change projects. What are Steve's pain points? Regulation compliance is a very big one. Weather and seasonal issues that affect his crop, and productivity worries. And conversely, what are Steve's goals? He just wants to stay on the right side of the rules. He wants to maintain and increase productivity, and he wants to save time and money. That's my favorite bit. Steve's decision dance is, what are the things that Steve weighs in when he's deciding whether or not to participate in practice change projects? So the dance is to the tune of compliance, basically. He cares about cost effectiveness, proven effectiveness, ease of implementation, and basically the benefits that he can unlock beyond the comfort zone. So knowing all of these things that we know about Steve, we know that being a stellar cane grower operating off Great Barrier Reef catchments is about more than just growing sugarcane. We know that it's about being an efficient and innovative land manager, both in the office and in the field. So how do we communicate this when we work with landholders? We know that using fewer inputs is better for the environment, saves Steve money, and also makes him compliant. So we need to focus on that triple win for Steve. And how do we do that? Well, we can communicate it through community success stories. If we share stories of other cane growers who are also doing amazing things, then we can enhance that group norm in the regions. We can also provide support and assistance to increase the ease of implementation and also try to alleviate the time and financial burden that Steve perceives. Again, compare that to this. These are motivations and barriers in the way that we would traditionally present them and get them to inform project implementation and design. And great, I really like it, but just so you can compare the difference. And here is Bob McCann. He's an average grazier operating in Great Barrier Reef catchments. He was also born in the 50s, so also between 63 and 73 years old. He's male, and he's been in the agricultural industry for more than 50 years. How does practice change Bob behave? So he reports high levels of knowledge and understanding of the land management practice changes that he must make. He is confident in his ability to implement practices, and he thinks fellow graziers are also changing their practices. What are Bob's pain points? He cares about time management, financial constraints, and weather and seasonal variability. And what are Bob's goals? He just wants to be a good environmental steward. He wants to maintain and improve productivity, and he wants to support future land managers in his farm. What's Bob's decision dance? He cares about cost effectiveness, proven effectiveness, and the rhythm of time. Things that take more time to happen are harder to comprehend in Bob's mind. He cares about peer influence and community support. And he cares about demonstrating stewardship. So how do we work with Bob to get him to achieve his goals, address his pain points, and also get our water quality improvement outcomes that we all want? We know that graziers in Great Barrier Reef catchments care about their land, so let's continue to promote that stewardship identity. How do we do that? Again, through community success stories. So promote our communications around stories of other graziers who have successfully implemented changes. We need to continue to emphasize the environmental impact of adopting new practices, even if this means stepping outside of their comfort zone, because stepping outside of the comfort zone is hard for all of us. But that will mean being a better environmental steward, which is part of Bob's goals. So we just need to provide assistance whenever possible to help them address their pain points and walk past those barriers to help them achieve their goals. Sorry.
I get to finish off. Nice. I guess the final point that we wanted to make, and I think we're going all right for time, are we? You haven't even...
4 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great, because we've actually got a little video to show you at the end. So, because basically we know that our data will never be as effective as actually hearing firsthand from land managers themselves. As I said, we have amazing case studies and videos, but we rarely get the opportunity to show decision makers. They don't have the time to sit down and watch wonderful videos and case studies, and we don't have the ability to bring Bob McCann down to meet with the minister. So it's our job to try and somehow bridge that and make our data speak for those people. But no one can do it more effectively than them. So our goal is to continually improve how we communicate what we do. Our hope is to be able to improve how we're using our data to influence enduring change in the agricultural sector. We also work increasingly across more broadly with the urban sector as well. We want to have influence everywhere. We're going to take over the world. That's kind of the plan. But yeah, I think we'll give the final word to some landholders. So unlike our higher up senior decision makers, we'd like you to take a couple of minutes to meet with a few of the landholders who've been on the journey with us and who are doing the critical work that we need done. So over to the farmers.
We've always looked after our country, but some of it we just, I think we need to be keeping on the ball.
We're going to have much better pasture for our cattle. So
it's protecting the country, yeah. It's holding your country together.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Looking to improve our business and our management practices now for quite some time, close to 20 years.
We've got 2 girls that are other parts of our business, and we want to keep it growing for them and to their kids as well.
Because you're holding that water back in your country, and where it just runs into that damn Pelican Creek and runs out to the ocean, it's not worth it.
We've increased the crop, so that's definitely, that's a major bonus, and it hasn't cost us anything more to do it, really. It's cost less to grow more cane.
We've been able to cut back on our fertiliser. Our crop has gone up, in fact. This year we'll have cut our best crop ever.
One of the most positive outcomes is the fact that we've actually reduced inputs and reduced the intensity of our farming system, and we've actually come out the other side with a similar, if not better, result in terms of production.
It's made me more open to somebody else coming and have a look at what I'm doing. It's basically like going to the doctor and having a checkup. There's no harm in it. All you can be told is what you need to do to improve.
I learnt things that I never ever knew, but I'm only sorry we didn't learn this about 20 or 30 years ago.
I'd encourage other growers to take the opportunity to participate in the project. It does give you a lot more intimate knowledge of the way that you farm and the issues, all of the issues that you have to deal with.